Hi guys, it's Andrea Tooley. I am at my in-laws' house. I'm home for my Christmas vacation. Well, kind of Christmas vacation. It's the beginning of December, but I get a whole week off from residency, so I'm just home with my family and it's great. And I thought I would make a video for you today. I've been responding to a bunch of emails. I'm sorry, I'm so behind on emails. I was studying for my board exams for step 3 of my medical boards. And so I completely ignored emails and put it all off until that was over. So now I'm responding. And I've been getting a lot of the same types of questions. So I'm going to make some videos to address some of those questions. And I love all the comments you leave and the questions that you guys ask. So please keep asking and I promise that I'll answer them all. So today I wanted to talk about kind of the time commitment in medical school, residency, and then just being a physician in general. Because I get lots of people asking questions like, what will my life be like? And will I have to sacrifice being a mother? Or will I have to give up my youth in medical school? And kind of just general time commitment type questions. So I'll kind of go piece by piece in life, starting with college, then medical school, residency, and then I will kind of guess what my future as a physician will be like because I'm still a resident, so I have no idea. But in college, I think that being pre-med, that doesn't mean that your major is pre-med, but that means that you want to go to medical school one day. So being that kind of a person means that you definitely have to be committed to your grades, you have to be committed to school, and obviously do well in school if you want to get into medical school at the end of the day. But that doesn't mean that you can't do all kinds of college-y things and have tons of fun and really enjoy what college has to offer. So for example, to show you kind of the dichotomy between being a pre-med but also being in college, I was in a sorority and I had an officer position in my sorority every year, and I really enjoyed all the events that my sorority put on and things like that. But my sophomore year, I was the social chair of my sorority, and my sophomore year was also my hardest year in college. I was taking like physics, and I took biochem, which was a terrible decision. No, not biochem, cell bio. That was a stupid class. Don't take cell bio. And I was taking calculus and just like stupid classes that were time consuming. And so I would plan all of these events for my sorority, and then I never got to go to any of them. Like none. So I planned all these formals and all this fun stuff, and then I never got to go because I was always studying. So that was a commitment I had to make to myself to stay home from these events and study because I had to, and it was what I had to do. And I kind of talked about that in my like motivation video about when you know your pre-med is just what you have to do. You have to give up going to those kinds of events and stuff. But my junior year, I studied abroad. I went to England for 6 months, and that was amazing. And I didn't do anything science related. I studied literature, and it was fabulous. And then my senior year, I did all kinds of social activities, and I had tons of fun with my girlfriends. I lived in a house with 5 girls, 6 girls, 7 girls, I don't know, and it was wonderful. So, I mean, you can still have a great college experience. You're just going to have to miss out on some social events and study more than other people, and just remember what your priorities are. But that doesn't mean that you have to be a hermit and do nothing in college. You should definitely have fun in college because it's your only time to be in that kind of life space. Okay, so that's college. So medical school is a huge time commitment. I mean, really, it's your full-time job. I have people ask me all the time, can I have a job in medical school? And I'd say for like 90% of people, the answer is no. Most medical schools won't even let you have a job because really you need to think about being a medical student. That is your job. That's your full-time job, is to study and go to class and learn. That's all you have to do. So there's some people who had jobs before medical school. Like I have friends who were pharmacists before medical school, and so they would still work like shifts here and there as a pharmacist throughout medical school. Or I had one friend who was a lab tech and would still do stuff in the lab, or researchers who had PhDs who would still work in their lab during medical school. Like that's legitimate, but you're not going to be bartending on the weekends or working in a retail store to pick up some cash. Like no, that does not happen in medical school. So that's going to be your full-time job. And then in terms of your day-to-day time, most of the time you have class from 8 or 9 in the morning until mid-afternoon. If you have lab that goes till later in the afternoon, some afternoons you would go till 3, 4, 5, whatever. I didn't always go to class because my medical school didn't require that you went to class, but that didn't mean I wasn't working on med school stuff. That meant I was either at home studying, or I was in the library studying, or I was at Starbucks studying, or whatever. So pretty much your entire day is made up of medical school stuff. And then your evenings are free to, I would work out, I would study a little bit more, I would cook, and go to bed. So that's pretty much what your life is going to be like most of the time in medical school. And then those first 2 years are the busiest. So that's when you're studying really hard for exams and for step 1 of your boards, which those scores dictate what kind of residency you can get into, and so those scores matter. And so that's the time, those first 2 years of medical school, when you do sacrifice a lot. You don't go out with your friends as much. I missed a lot of like family weddings and stuff because I just didn't have time to go home. And some people like party and go out in medical school and do lots of fun stuff. And I think if you can do that, that's great. I was not that kind of person. I could not function if I had a wild weekend or things like that. And I had to study a lot. Some people don't have to study as much. And I also knew I wanted to do a competitive field. I'm doing ophthalmology, which is fairly competitive. And so that's not as competitive as, say, like internal medicine or something like that, where I probably could have gotten away with studying less. But I wanted to keep all my doors open and obviously do the best that I could so that I would have the option to do something really competitive, like ophthalmology. So those are the first 2 years of medical school. Then 3rd and 4th year of medical school are your clinical years. You're doing rotations in the hospital, similar to residency, except that you're a medical student. And your time you're at the mercy of your rotation. So if you're on a tough rotation like medicine or surgery, you will be working 60, 70 hours a week and trying to study for exams in your free time and trying to like take out your trash on trash day. You just have no time. But then you'll also have really laid back, easy rotations where you have tons of free time. So I had a couple of rotations where I worked from like 8 to 2 every day. And if you go back to my blog, which is adoctorinthehouse.com, you can read about like my days in some of my easy rotations. And I would just like hang out outside and study casually and go for a run, and like life was great. So 3rd and 4th year of medical school, you can have some months that are really busy and then some months that are really low key. And that's wonderful because after those first 2 years, like you're tired and you need a break. So 3rd and 4th year are great. And then 4th year is completely different because you're interviewing for residency and you're going on different interviews and you're traveling, and it's totally different, but you also have lots of free time. Okay, so now time in residency. So residency is really busy. I generally work about 60 hours a week. I have some weeks that are a little less and some weeks that are a little more, but I'd say probably like between like 58 to 62 hours a week is probably my average what I work, which you can still do tons of stuff with that time. And there are so many residents who have kids and families and hobbies, and if you read my blog, you know I do tons of stuff. Like I'm in a tennis class and I work out, well, sometimes, not all the time, but I work out multiple days a week, and I cook a lot, and I hang out with my husband, and I have friends in residency that I hang out with on the weekends. So you have tons of free time. People ask, like, will I be able to have a family? Will I be able to have a normal life? And the answer is yes. That's such a crazy question when people are like, well, I'm a woman and I really want to have children. Can I be a doctor? Well, of course you can. Yes, you can. 50% of medical students these days are female, sometimes more than 50%. And these aren't all women who are giving up having children and having a family. Like, that's not the way it works anymore. It's the same as having any other job that's demanding, and it just depends on what field of medicine you want to go into as well. So if you're going to be a neurosurgeon, you're going to be working a lot of hours, a lot of random hours, overnight, on call, things like that. But if you're working in more structured fields of medicine, so I'm doing ophthalmology, which is like a 8 to 5 type of job, so I intend to have lots of free time. And you can make those decisions about what kind of lifestyle you want and what type of medicine is more conducive to the lifestyle that you want. And you can tailor your practice to the kind of life that you want to lead. If medicine is your passion and you want to work 80 hours a week when you're 55 years old, like that's cool. There's plenty of people who do that. So I think that it's important to remember that it's up to you what kind of commitment you want to put into it. You can work a normal banker's hours type of career and be a physician, or you can work tons of hours, and that's great too. And I don't think that we need to put limits on ourselves about the time and the sacrifice, because at the end of the day, at least this is how I feel, at the end of the day, if you want to be a doctor and if it's the only thing that you can see yourself doing, then that's what you're going to do. And that's how I felt about it. Like, that's what I'm going to do because this is the only career for me. And so you just make it work, and it's totally worth it. I promise. All right, bye.